Billy, the Manwhore.
Yeah.
I've been listening to you.
Look at him being all adult.
Oh.
How old are you again?
28.
Okay, yeah. So we're the same age. But you have this youthful vibe. I feel like you're going to look like this until you're 40.
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm like 23. It's not great.
Meanwhile, some people will be like, "Oh, Billy, you look good for your age." I'll be like, "I do." They're like, "Yeah, you're like 35, 36. You look great." I'm like, "Oh shit,
You guys are recording?
it's all falling apart."
Why don't we let's start with a little interview with you.
Sure, why not?
You good with that, Mother?
I'm good with that because I've done some research.
How old is he? How old can you really be and still say mother? When does that start being weird?
Do you not call your mother mother? What's the relationship?
I call her mom. I call her Bobby.
Bobby, is it her name?
Well, your name's Barbara. Bobby. She goes by. Look, my mom's name is Barbara. When you meet her, you're like, oh, she's a Bobby. You know,
Okay.
she's
a Bobby.
very energetic, bright person.
Okay, that's nice. So you're saying we before we started recording, you were saying you do not talk to your mother the way
I do not talk to her the way you talk to her.
Not many people
that,
do.
I'm weirded out or grossed out, but I'm still trying to figure out my normal relationship with my mother, let alone opening up the sex stuff. But who knows? She's single now, so she's off exploring that.
Oh, that's going to change your whole dynamic.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get weird about my dad with the being single stuff. I think my mom's just a bit of a kookier person. So
how does that manifest? What has that led to any crazy things in terms of her relationships? Are you being involved in that?
Not really. I know this. You know, my parents split up and got back together 5 different times before they actually got divorced. Yeah. So like, I would always notice this trend. Like, my mom got very slutty when she was single.
How did you know she was being slutty?
What was that?
How did you know she was being slutty? I mean, did you see her bring home guys?
Back when I was, for example, when I had just graduated college and was living at home, and my sisters were home too. Yes, thank you for that. And you know, we just text her at like midnight, and we would like text her and be like, hey, you know, like where are you? And she'd say like, oh, I'm out with my golfing partners. We're like, Mom, no one's golfing at 12:30 in the morning. You know, or like I don't know. I feel like there's a certain level of that where she had a boyfriend who didn't have a cell phone. Would you fuck your way through a time machine, Mom? Like, what's going on here?
Okay, for our listeners, Billy Procida is the host of the Manwhore podcast, where it started, from my understanding, with you interviewing your exes.
I still do. Tomorrow, or this week, I have an episode of the week that we're recording this. This week's my episode is with a lesbian I made out with in a gay bar, and then she ran away when she realized what she had done.
Oh my God.
And then six years later, I was like, let's talk about it.
Isn't that the worst? Cam had an episode like that.
I did as well. I didn't make out with her, but I was pursuing her, and then learned in our date, our four-course meal, that she was lesbian. But she came on the podcast, we hashed it out. It was great.
It was fine because he had a Groupon.
I happen to have a Groupon for the date. We don't need to go through this.
Do you have a synced iCal so you know about all his dates?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We do not. I have to specify that because we had this weird fucking close relationship. Anyway.
We'll get into that later.
Billy, so you're how many exes do you have that you're able to record podcasts for years on end?
Well,
once a week.
It's not like ex-girlfriends, and it's not everyone I've slept with. It's anyone I've hooked up with in some capacity. So anyone like I've made out with heavily or slept with or dated. So there's a broad definition of hooked up with.
There's a heaviness of the makeout that they have to qualify?
Yeah, like a kiss on the lips real quick.
Nothing.
You know, like I kissed a girl briefly in Austin. It was more of like a really like, it was a long but closed mouth kiss. You know what? If it's open mouth, if our tongues touch, you qualify. I think that's...
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. So...
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. I have so many questions for the.
Well, actually, and this is interesting, is that I was recording a bonus episode recently, and I was going through like my list to be like, oh, which ones should I talk about? I do a few solo bonus episodes with people telling the story of guests who will never be on the show. Sometimes because they have no name. There was some Craigslist Bukaki I did, and I'm like, I don't. She's in.
And I, of course, know what you're talking about.
Right, of course you do. You know, you have very good skin.
And my son probably does.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But no, there's a woman in my spreadsheet who just says Black Bukaki chick. I don't have a name. I have no way to track her down. I was brought in by a friend to this Bukaki, so I don't even have an email address.
It sounds like an event, like the Bukaki, the night of Bukaki.
They're fun. They're heavily organized. So when I do these episodes with those types of stories, I'm going to the list of the past hookups, and I just remembered a few days ago, and I ended up telling the story, but it's technically someone who I've never hooked up with, but totally should qualify because it was a couple from Craigslist who wanted me to watch them fuck. So I never touched the woman, but like I watched her fuck through their window.
Oh my God! Wait,
oh God!
Are you gonna be okay? You're gonna be okay?
He's gonna choke. You need to breathe, Sam. Breathe.
So you're on Craigslist.
There's this thing called the internet,
so you're on Craigslist, and someone is posting and saying, hey, "I want someone to come watch me and my husband fuck," and you are on Craigslist, and you say, "I'm gonna show up."
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, wait, is this has it gotten like more extreme since your podcast, or was this how you've been since you've been sexually active?
I would say I've been like this ever since the end of my first serious relationship, which was around the age of 19. I was like not sexually active until 18. Girls were really not interested in me. I did not know how to talk. Did not know how to talk to women. Then I had this great girlfriend for about 14 months. And then I was single and 19 with pretty blue eyes in New York City, and with Craigslist.
Unbelievable.
And it was,
but that was way before Tinder or any.
Yeah, before Tinder or anything.
So you have to go on Craigslist.
I didn't have to. I was in college, and I was in New York City, where I have a very generous gender ratio. But at that point, I just realized, I wanted to see what was out there, and I figured out that I'll try everything twice, and that's how I'm going to figure out this sexuality of mine.
I love
figure out what gets me going, what am I into, what am I not into, and we'll do it trial by error.
What have you discovered?
I definitely like watching people fuck.
Really? So this was a good event?
I wouldn't say I discovered any deep-seated fetishes, but just things I like to do.
Wait, let's stick to that one.
Okay.
Because I think that's that's a safe fetish. You're not getting too involved. Yeah. You're able to watch, get turned on or whatever.
I can jerk off or not. Yeah, there's no performance anxiety that comes with it.
I think I like that fetish too. I haven't done that, but I think I like that.
It's a low-key one. I would have preferred they let me be inside because it was 43 degrees and I was next to the Hudson River in Edgewater, New Jersey. They wanted me to be outside the building and watch into the window, which would have been fine in the summer. But it was 43 degrees, and it was the building's on the river, so I'm getting the cold of it.
Oh my God! But you're getting aroused during this.
Look, I drove down to Edgewater, New Jersey. I made sure I got aroused.
Are you jerking off while this is happening?
Yeah.
Outside?
Oh my God!
Cam,
Cam, would you be interested in doing something like this?
I'm open-minded to it. I've never found myself in a situation where someone has been, come watch me and my husband have sex.
Los Angeles has a healthy Craigslist postings.
I know. I have not been openly using Craigslist or actively.
You've been privately using Craigslist.
Yes,
okay.
Privately. And then you're the first one. I've always looked at Craigslist. I've been like, oh, who is using this? You use it,
and
it's successfully.
Yeah. I use it to sell exercise equipment and things like that. I've never actually looked at the let's do sex column.
My Craigslist is my favorite dating site. It really is. I mean, think about where else could you show up for casual sex and leave with an antique coffee table?
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? It's if it doesn't work out, she has a PS2 that she can sell you. It's
so funny.
Yeah.
So do you encounter different people because you use Craigslist than you would otherwise?
I encounter different types. So I've encountered regular folks like your mom, and I've encountered
cougar type people. I do want to ask you about that.
Very attractive, normal seeming people like you, and I've encountered some nutsy people and everything in between.
I'm kind of not normal though, by the way.
Sure, okay. But you appear. You present.
I appear normal. Yeah, yes. I pretend to be normal until you talk to me. So I have this guy, I have a YouTube channel, right? And it's about dating and sex. So I have this guy that's, he's a patron actually, and he wants to know what to do. He's 31 years old. He's a virgin. He's just he's going crazy. He just thinks there's something wrong with his penis because, I don't know. And he just says, what can I do? And I'm like, get a prostitute. But now I'm thinking maybe Craigslist would be the call.
Craigslist is good, or a sex worker also works. I think either are very valid options. I think it depends what he wants With a prostitute, you get a lot of agency in the matter. With Craigslist, you're shooting a lot into the dark to see what hits, you know?
You're shooting, all right.
Can I interject a question over here?
Yes.
Okay, so you clearly sex is a very important thing for you, because otherwise you would not have the podcast dedicated to discussing it all the time.
Well, actually, I started the show because I had this problem where women would sleep with me, but they wouldn't date me. And I wanted to find out why. Because I wanted a girlfriend.
How did you get that reputation, though?
I don't know. I wanted a girlfriend. I wanted a serious, loving relationship. But the women would they'd hook up with me or go on dates with me, and they would be really into casual sex, and they did not want anything serious. They would be like, I would say, "Hey, you want to make this serious?" They'd be like, "Shut up and just come fuck me." You know, that was the type of thing that would happen. Which I know,
you had too much of a friends with benefit.
Well, I think so, and what I've called, I give off a very boyfriendy vibe. I love cuddling. I like holding hands. I like, oh God forbid, getting to know you. Even if I'm just fucking you. So like, I have this new fuck buddy who, like, someone I hooked up with recently, who looks like we're going to start sleeping together, and she's very like walled off in that she was very happy that I was capable of just coming over to her apartment to fool around rather than needing to pretend to go to a movie or something. She's like, oh, thank God, you know. I'm like, okay, cool. But when I got home that night, and she's not very chatty. I'm like, look, you got to give me a little something, because like I have this weird thing when I fuck people, I have to kind of like them. So you have to at least talk to me a little. Like,
people are dying. They're like, I want his problem.
You know, I have the opposite problem. Well, maybe not.
Those people. Well, but my issue is that's not a typically quote unquote male issue. That's normally like a chick problem, right?
Yes.
It's the woman who wants more serious, and the guy doesn't, and it was a really weird gender role reversal.
Yes. Yeah. And mine has fluctuated where. I think I also give off the boyfriendy vibe. I find it.
Well, those shorts definitely give off a boyfriendy vibe.
Okay, relax with the. These are fine linen shorts. Okay.
It's the one with the peaches.
No, there's no peach. I almost wear that shirt.
They're a light blue, and they come uncomfortably up that knee.
Okay, he has like one pair of shorts, and he wears them every day. That's probably those.
Thank you, Mother. Okay, so this is. But then I had casual sex, and I found it very. It's not nearly as good compared to sex where you have the fucking connection.
Yeah, it depends on.
Well, wait. It also depends on if, like, your casual sex was a one-night stand, whereas, you know, what Billy was talking about is that, you know,
these
you can have like
fuck buddies. Yeah.
Right.
That's a different type of story, and that I think is a very good relationship.
Yeah,
but I don't get why you'd be an ongoing fuck buddy. Unless there was some like really weird thing, like, you know, big 30-year age gap or something, that why wouldn't it turn into a relationship then?
I don't know. And it, you know, that's why I started a podcast. I was like, I want to have them on and ask. And unfortunately, it just seemed to be like, you know, poor timing for the most part.
For all of them, it's poor timing.
For the ones, because there were a lot of fuck buddies or people who I just fooled around with, and that's all I really wanted, and that was fine and great. But for the ones who I really wanted to date seriously, who I caught feelings for, some I fell in love with, a lot of them it was just, I don't feel that way about you, or I just got out of a serious relationship, or sometimes they're dating guys the way they're dating me, but more than one, and they end up choosing another to like get more serious, to get monogamous with. I shouldn't say more serious to imply monogamy, but and that's right. It didn't seem to be, there was never like, you do this and that's why we didn't date. I did get some notes. I did get some notes, like studio notes, like that.
What were the notes?
But is that because of the podcast that you got the notes, or you think they would have given it to you
Oh,
regardless?
well, I started the podcast. No, I think it's because they were on a podcast where I'm asking them, hey, why didn't we get more serious? I don't think they would just called me one night 3 years later and be like, hey, by the way, you're condescending.
You know, I think, and Cam's done the same thing where he's had ex-girlfriends on. I think it takes a lot of balls to do that for both you guys. I don't know. I mean, I think it would be really hard for me to do that. I didn't have a lot of relationships like that I could even do that with, but I think it takes a lot of guts.
Has it led to any uncomfortable situations for you?
Sure.
Really?
Sure. Let's see. There was one who I very matter-of-factly, this was like early on in the podcast, I very matter-of-factly am like talking to the audience while she's there saying, yeah, and so, you know, we ended up stopped sleeping together because she started dating another guy, and it was like, hey, no big deal, like, I get that. And she was like, no, I started dating him like 6 months after I told you we had to stop fucking. And then she like went into the reason why. So like my mind got a little blown. Like I got hit with some truth.
Wow.
This was a real.
Well, what did she say?
I don't remember. Oh no, I do. She wanted something more serious. She didn't want casual sex anymore, but she also didn't want to date me. She just didn't feel that way, which is fine because I didn't feel like I wanted to date her either. But this. Do
you think it's because you're a comedian or a podcaster? Does that like
or
lower?
New York? This is the same.
I mean, I think it's a New York. It's big New York thing. We have a lot of women here and people in general, because there's so many people, you can kind of fuck all you want and never have to get serious. I mean, there is a guy who wrote a book called Datanomics. His name's John Berger. He actually wrote a book about gender ratios that suggests that dudes, specifically in New York City, are outnumbered, or college-educated dudes are outnumbered by college-educated women, so they kind of never have to settle down. They have to they kind of have their pick of things. But that's a whole different discussion.
We actually interviewed someone that had the exact same, and that's one of the reasons I think Cam went to New York.
To explore more. I thought it was going to give you an opportunity.
There are a lot of women here and not enough men. There's a male shortage in this city. At least, of college-educated men. That's what his book was specifically about.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This was freaky that happened. One revelation, it was a woman I'd slept with once, and we start I'm doing my little pre-interview that I do before, and it's just simple, like relationship status, sexual orientation, what do you want to talk about, what do you not want to talk about. She says, well, I definitely want to talk about that night. I'm like, great, me too. I was like, okay, cool, because it was just a one-night thing. I'm like, great. I turn to hit the record button, my finger's on the button, I turn back, she's in full tears.
Whoa.
Oh,
holy
fuck. God. I don't mean to laugh, but oh my God.
Holy fuck.
I pick my finger up, I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, time out. What's going on? And she says to me, I thought I raped you.
Whoa. Holy
and she
fuck.
And I was like, can I go on the thing? I was like, you didn't, I promise, but can we get this on air? And she's like, okay. So I turn on the mics, and she explains that that night I did not want to have sex. I used to have this rule. I would tell women before we went home, I would say, hey, I'm really into this, but I typically don't have sex the first night I hook up with someone, and so there's nothing about you. I hope that's okay, because I really, and I'm fine to fool around and go down each other, whatever. I just like to wait at least one night to do that.
Great rule.
Yeah, I like that. I always thought it gave me.
It's so bizarre to me though, because I grew up in an age where it was like completely reversed.
Oh, don't worry, dudes are still. That's not a common thing still. I'm still the weirdo.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I would get a lot of women who would be like,
and you have a brethren over here.
Yeah, well, I also would get women who would think I was just saying that so that they'd be more into fucking.
Be a challenge, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
But I was like, no, for real. Anyways, I tell her this. We go up to my place and we're fooling around. We're having a good time. I'm already thinking like, okay, I can fool around with this person. Definitely don't think I want to have sex with her. I don't think I'm attracted to her in that way. And she just was getting annoying. She's kind of just like constantly be like, please, I want to fuck. Please, can we fuck? I really want to fuck you. And then eventually she whittled me down to I gave my consent. Like I said, I consented. I was like, I'm in. Okay, fine. I grabbed the condom and I did it. But then and then we never saw each other again after. But apparently after hooking up with me, she started dating a guy for like a year and a half who had been raped by a woman.
Oh my God.
And she used to never think men could be raped by women.
Oh my God.
And so dating him, and when he opened up to her about it, made her flash back to me, be like, fuck, did I? And she, for like 2 years, lived with this guilt, thinking that she had raped me.
Like somehow mentally manipulated you to rape you.
Well, she thought that maybe because again, we had been drinking that night, so she was, I mean, not like a ton, but just enough that maybe it'd be hazy enough years later. And she wasn't sure if I explicitly consented or not, or if she kind of just, and I'd be like, look, I've had a woman not respect my consent. You did not do that. You were in the clear. It wasn't enthusiastic consent, but it was affirmative. It was affirmative.
This is amazing. Sex, I think, is such an intimate situation, and yet we talk about it so rarely afterwards. Mm-hmm. And it can lead to, can you imagine this woman is sitting there for a year and a half, 2 years, thinking she raped someone, what it held on this woman because of it. If only she'd been able to come on the podcast earlier.
Or she could, I don't know, she also could just call me. She had my number.
Right, but people feel very uncomfortable talking about sex, especially if you feel like you raped someone. Hi, did I rape you?
But the thing is, it's like I would think that a guy, and I'm a woman, so I don't know about this, but I would think it would be hard to rape a guy if the guy, how do you force yourself to get hard if you aren't hard?
Well, I mean, that's a biological response. That's not necessarily, and I mean, you could say this too. Just because you're wet doesn't mean you automatically consent, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, your body can betray you in ways like that, and doesn't mean that. Oh well, Your Honor, she was wet as fuck, so like, of course, she wanted it.
No, I understand. I understand the woman's aspect. I'm just trying to clarify in my head if a man.
There could be all sorts of reasons. Like, I could maybe not want to fuck because. Let's pretend I was in an open relationship, but we had a rule where it's like you can do stuff with her, but you can't fuck other women. That would be an example where you could be incredibly turned on and definitely want to fuck her, but not give your consent to, and she just sat on it. That would not be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my scenario,
I'm going more from a technical standpoint. Like, how does that work?
Have you ever heard of a fear boner?
I have not.
Oh yeah, so you can get hard for all sorts.
I'm a woman. I don't know about fear boners.
I've gotten hard just driving my car, like just driving for no apparent reason. Just get hard, like it has nothing to.
Also, it could be a situation where you just don't want to have sex, but you happen to be aroused.
Exactly. I mean, that's a thing.
It doesn't mean just because you have a boner you want to necessarily have sex, because it leads to all this shit. I have a question.
The other thing I'm thinking about also is like. Usually, the man is not as strong as a woman. I mean, the man is stronger than the woman. So that's another thing I was wondering. Like, if she physically forced you somehow because she was stronger than you or something like that, I could see then her feeling that way.
In this guest example, who knows what she was thinking? In the situation that happened to me, it was she was a bigger woman, and she just went and like I was verbally saying no, and she just sat on it, and the reason Like, was I stronger than her? Sure. Like, could I have shoved her off of me? Sure. But in the thought process in my mind, while like as she sits on my cock, bareback, by the way, because like if you're gonna rape somebody, please wear a condom, please.
Yeah.
No, but she sits on it, and I'm thinking if I would have to shove her hard to get her off because she's a heavier person. So if I have to use all my force to shove her off, if she falls off that bed the wrong way, hits her head on the couch, anything, guess who goes away in cuffs? Oh, you. Officer, I was defending myself against this woman who wasn't respecting my consent. Yeah, an NYPD officer is really going to buy that story. So in this defense... You know what?
I'm really glad you told me this story because literally I never thought of it from a guy's point of view that you actually could be raped by a woman. I never thought of that.
I mean, there are reasons one would not fight off for the same exact reasons that there are many women who don't fight off their rapists, and you get some shitty 70-year-old for similar reasons where it's like, why didn't you fight? It's like you didn't want the consequences.
Right,
I mean, fuck the awkwardness. Like, there could be physical consequences. There can be situational consequences, like with mine. So sometimes you have to kind of just let it happen, because if they haven't, it's not
and
great.
The peer pressure too. The peer pressure later of what could happen if you're like, oh, a guy and he didn't want to have sex with me, that kind of thing.
Did she seem relieved after having this discussion?
Oh, yeah. And then we had a fantastic talk and how she's a clown and weird sex stuff. Sure, but like the first 20 minutes...
No way, a clown?
The first 15, 20 minutes were kind of heavy.
Do you know I'm a clown?
Are you?
I am a clown.
You do have clown bone structure.
I've never been told I have clown bone structure, but I appreciate that. I take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Okay, Billy, I had to ask you again, because I know we're going to be probably running short on time, right? Or no?
Whatever's clever.
You keep going.
I just want to know, like, because this for both Cam and I is the situation. How has this podcast changed your whole way of looking at life? Like, are you able to just be so much more confident and honest with people when you first meet them, or has it not really affected you?
I've definitely gotten more humble in doing the podcast for several reasons. One, I have to listen to the playback in editing, and wow, am I stupid.
I'll probably feel stupid after that whole "can men get raped" comment.
A lot of times when I'm cutting something, it's because I decide I'm interrupting the guest, and I shouldn't, because they're great and I have nothing of substance to add. I'm just putting my big dumb male opinion into it. But no. So I'm humbled in that way, but also I'm facing truths from these exes. And they're telling me...
No, I'm talking about when you meet people like in the bar for the first time. You're in the bar with your guy friends. And this happened to me the other day.
I have guy friends. That's
was so open.
Guys
I was so open.
I'm such a buzzkill.
Who's a buzzkill?
Me. You said I had guy friends. I was like, oh no, I have no. Men don't hang out with me. I give an uncomfortably feminine,
hang out with Cam.
energy.
I give the same thing.
You two would be great together. You'd be a dynamic duo.
All right.
So the ambiguously gay duo.
Say you were with your ambiguously gay new friend Cam, and are you more open when you meet Are you more open when you meet women? Would you say than before you did the podcast, because you have like this podcast, like to say, hey,
am I more?
I know so much more about everything because I'm humble, or not humble, but more educated because I've talked to all my exes and I kind of know more about people.
Do you mean, am I more open about sex stuff in general and my own sexuality with like first dates or people I meet on the spot?
Exactly.
Yes. Partly because they can find it if they want to. I've had an uncomfortable amount of Tinder dates start with, so I checked out your podcast. I'm like, ooh, what do I have to explain? Which episode, so I know what I have to apologize for.
Yeah.
So I would say so.
Is that work dates too? Does that affect your ability to get dates in the future?
I'm sure they're like Tinder-y type matches that maybe didn't go through because of it, but whatever. Those are people I wouldn't have wanted to date anyway. Podcast or no podcast. It's not like my type changed too much. It's not like I said, I wouldn't, before I had the podcast, I wouldn't have been interested in dating sexually closed-minded people anyway.
It seems like you're very well educated when it comes to sex, like in your vocabulary and your ability to describe.
If you use the wrong vocabulary, man, Twitter will get at you.
Yeah, so. No, I know that. So has it improved your understanding of sex and where people can come from in the sense?
For sure. I've had some like hard learning moments, just about various, like whether they be genders, orientations, or experiences. A lot of it has to do with like people's experiences. I used to tell a story about a Craigslist subway stairwell blowjob that I got back in 2011. I
had one too.
Oh my God! Cool. We should. I know you look familiar. No, what's fun about meeting you two is that, like, because you've just been exclusively cartoons to me. Well, not as much her, but you've been just a cartoon because that's your album artwork.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And your Twitter handle. So now I'm seeing what you look like in real life.
Yeah.
IRL. But for example, like, I don't know, I used to tell this story about. It was a subway stairwell Bukaki thing. I answer another ad for Bukaki. I answer a lot of Bukaki.
You love this Bukaki thing.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. Because a lot of
and wait. Can you just say what the Bukaki is again? Because
Karen, I would love to hear
I may have a different idea
of what a Bukaki is.
What I think it is?
I just would be more entertained to hear you say it.
Okay, so I saw like a porn scene where there was like this guy named Dirty D. And he brought in his whole like contingent, and they all just had sex with this girl, and that they called it the Bukaki scene. I don't know. Is there anything more to it? It's like just kind of like
it's a group of we'll say a group of penis wielders coming on a person. Because actually, being the special guest of the Bukaki is really genderless. Anyone can be it. And then so any penis wielder is ejaculating onto the person's face typically. It can just be them jerking off. It could be hand job, blow job combinations. Depends on what rules you set for your Bukaki. But
have you played all parts of this? Or
I've not been the recipient. Although I love to be on the receiving end of like a female Bukaki, like a bunch of women squirting on me. That would be lovely.
Have you? So you? And there's other men around while you're doing this.
Yeah, Karen, are you available? What's going on?
Okay, Billy.
I literally have never been part of Bukaki. Never.
Karen, can you squirt?
Mother?
Censored. We have to censor certain things.
I'm just saying you're welcome to respond, but I'm telling you, we're running into a very dangerous territory for my sanity.
We're gonna have you have like
safe word in. We got.
No, you can. If you want to respond, you should feel free to respond. I'm gonna be grossed out as fuck.
Now, it's really strange. We have kind of developed a fine line, and we somehow have managed to stick to it. That's what's so great.
That's to the brink.
That's what I'm trying to do here.
You got pretty close there. You got close. But even if you asked me that on my YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't answer it.
Okay,
I
fair enough.
kind of just like keep a little bit quieter, and I'm not even 100% sure that I believe in the whole squirting concept.
You're very. I think you have an.
I think a lot of women say they squirt and they actually pee, but anyway, that's another story. There is squirting, but
very controversial statement there.
It's controversial.
It's very. Cam, are you aware of how controversial that is?
Peeing versus squirting, whether it's a real thing.
I'm
familiar.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. People get angry.
I don't take it personally at all.
I don't care if people get angry. I really don't. I feel like people are like overly sensitive about squirting. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. So
I don't care.
You have a good ability to just be straight up, like hit on people. Like you were hitting on my mother in our emails, knowing that I'm on the fucking thread.
I mean, I'm doing it in part because you're on the thread.
Okay.